you're leaving massive results on the table on every single rep with this one portion of the lift. And we're gonna get into that here in a second. Before, like and subscribe down below. But the fastest, strongest, most injury-proof people, the people that have the most durability, aren't the ones that can produce the most movement, the most force. They are the ones that are the best at pausing. They're the best at slowing down. They spend the least amount of time in the isometric phase of the movement. So what I mean by saying that you're leaving results on the table, gains on the table, durability on the table, is because you're not spending time practicing the isometric phase of the exercise. And what that is, that's just holding the position, right? So the muscle can be contracted and shortening. The muscle can be contracted and lengthening. The muscle can just be holding a position, right? So if I hold a kettlebell right here, or I hold halfway up on a curl, right? Or I stop just an inch above my chest on a bench press, or I pause at the knee for a deadlift, or I hold it at the bottom of a squat for a little extra long, my body gets a little bit better at holding that position. Now, most of our strength is really gained in that isometric portion. Most of our joint capacity, just like all these great things, are really at that point. But we don't really tend to think about this, because we tend to think about when an athlete, puts their foot in the ground and goes the other direction. They're like, oh man, look how fast they were. They produced all that force. And it's true, but the majority of the time that it took for them to change directions was in the slow down, the stop, the isometric, and then going back. It's true, they were fast producing that movement going that way, but the people who do that the fastest are the ones that spend the least amount of time in the eccentric and isometric portion of that movement. So in order to get faster at doing that and to get less injury, like we are going to have less injuries, you're gonna twist your ankle less, you're gonna trip over something and be able to catch yourself if you have practiced this isometric position. So when you're jumping, you would jump to the side and you'd hold and catch your balance for a little while, and then you'd stand up and do another rep. That's why we do a lot of the bottoms up kettlebell stuff, because that's an isometric contraction on the shoulder, right? So we're just holding the kettlebell's up here, the handle is right here, and we're holding this position and we're going for a walk, right? So this is just an isometric position, but really this is just an overhead press where we're not moving. We're holding that isometric to get the body to do something different. Most of our core exercises should really be isometric in nature. We talked about that with the rotation, right? So I'm in eccentric, now I'm in concentric, now I'm in isometric, okay? Being able to hold that isometric contraction and master that position is going to be the difference in being able to move between these other things. But we tend to just, it's not, it's like the lineman of the football team, and it's not the quarterback, it's not taking all the glory. But if you just take some time and you just 1001 down at the bottom of a squat or a lunge or a deadlift or on a press or whatever you're doing, if you just control the movement and you think about holding that position it doesn't take much, a 1001, or maybe you're gonna count to 5, something like that, but it can make a big difference in the results that you do get. And this is the least likely position for you to get injured, by far. And you can't produce force until you've paused. Like, the force production takes all the glory, but being able to produce force comes from a paused position. So being able to produce had to come from a paused position. So it started from the isometric. You cannot have it without, right? So these people that are able to do all these, feats of strength and have the durability of the joint, that's what I was going for. They are really the best in that isometric and eccentric portion of the lift. Now, some of us don't produce that stiffness that you get out of that isometric portion and the strength, as well as others. And if you're a little bit more on the flexible side, which a lot of us are, you will get more out of the plyometrics than somebody who produces a lot of stiffness very well. But anyway, there's tons of benefits to these isometric things. I think this is a big enough deal that I'm actually going to end up making a series out of this. But practice that isometric. Hold the position. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to designate time to the isometric phase like in a whole series of sets. Just every single rep, you're just going to pause. Pause at the top, pause at the bottom, and that's going to give you extra gains, and it's going to drastically reduce your risk of injury.